was the same individual also charged with that.
It's absolutely sickening that this person, apparently witnesses a man be murdered in front of him, and his first thoughts is to how can I possibly provide cover for him, even to the extent of trying to take responsibility for the crime. It just the amount of deranged mindset you have to have is remarkable. That here everyone else is hiding for cover and worried about their loved ones, and this man is plotting to assist someone that apparently, as far as we know, he had no connection to.
Now, I mean, the book has to be thrown at all these people. And that brings us, George, to the Discord chats where Robinson confessed to the shooting. The FBI director today was asked about this by Senator Josh Hawley. Watch.
I see the public reports that the Discord thread had as many as 20 additional users. It sounds like you're trying to run down all of that to see if that's accurate. Who else may have been on that thread, what they may have known. Is that fair to say?
It's a lot more than that, and we're running them all down.
It's a lot more than 20?
Yes, sir.
Now, if those 20-plus people have knowledge of this shooting and did nothing, what sort of charges could they be looking at?
They could be looking at obstruction. They could be looking at some kind of an accessory charge, aiding and abetting, accessory after the fact, and that sort of thing. But again, Laura, it's so typical of elements of our society today that people stand by and watch, like they did at that mob scene in Ohio, that you have all these people on the streets of New York today cheering this Mangione guy. It's nuts.
Yeah, well, they're going to do it if there are no consequences. So they're either laws that they can be prosecuted under, or they face other societal consequences. But George and Josh, extraordinary day. Thank you very much.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. When you try to kill our citizens, we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Charlie Crist was killed 2 days ago.
Charlie.
I'm sorry.
Kirk. Right?
Kirk. I just call him Crist. I think because of Christ. Because of his deep belief. I mean, I disagreed with him on almost every point I ever heard him say. Yeah. But I believe he was a man of faith. And I hope in that moment when he died that he felt connected to his faith, even though I find his ideas were abhorrent to me. Yeah. I still believe he's a father and a husband and a man of faith, and I hope whatever connection to God means that he felt it. Yesterday was 9/11. I know there is video of his assassination. I know people who've seen it. Yesterday, we watched again these images of those buildings coming down. We as a society are bombarded with imagery. So we don't know what the longitudinal effects of seeing those towers come down over and over and over and over again, or watching his execution over and over and over again. We watched the Zapruder film, by the way, my birthday, November 22nd. I'm associated with this awful day of someone being assassinated on television. But it's, as you know, the Zapruder film is the only visual document that moves, that shares that horror of what happened. But here we have now these images.
All the time, every day.
And we are inured to them and we are numb to them, but they are in there. We don't know. We don't know enough psychologically about what that does. What does that do? that kind of, I don't ever want to see this footage of this man being shot.
I didn't watch it. I think it diminishes the depth of humanity.
I was very, very upset that someone's life was taken because they have a different opinion. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, this was a great communicator, a great advocate for the right, for Republican causes. And he had such a great way of communicating with the students that agreed or disagreed with him. And I just thought about, it's a human being. A human life is gone. And he was a great father, a great husband. And I was thinking about his children. They will only be reading about him now, instead of him reading to them bedtime stories. I mean, it's just unbelievable of what is going on. So I was shocked when I saw this, as we all were.
Fox and Friends first on this Wednesday morning. I'm Carly Schiff.
Talk about fiery. I'm Todd Pyro. Let's get right, though, to Garrett Tenney in Spanish Fort, Utah, with the latest on the alleged Charlie Kirk assassin. Garrett.
Hey, good morning, y'all. Yeah, this was a really interesting day yesterday where we learned a lot of new information on this case, and we also saw the suspect for the first time appear in court. The only time that he spoke was when he confirmed his name. He was wearing a special suicide prevention vest, and he showed no emotion as the judge read off the charges against him. These are the charges he's facing, the most significant of which is aggravated murder. And the Utah County District Attorney says he will be seeking the death penalty in this case. Ahead of that hearing, the DA laid out the charges and a lot of the evidence that they have gathered so far against the alleged assassin, including his DNA on the trigger of the rifle used to kill Charlie Kirk. Prosecutors also shared text messages between the suspect, Tyler Robinson, and his romantic partner, where Robinson confessed to the shooting.
Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I'm sorry. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
The suspect went on to say that he'd hoped to carry this crime to his deathbed and asked his lover to delete their text and not talk to police. Yes.
What's going on, family? I hope everybody that's tuned in right now, that you are blessed, well, and healthy. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and put rest in peace Charlie in the comment section. Put some love in the comment section for me. Oh boy, we're bringing updates as they come in. You know, man, you know, it's really sad that this took place. You know, that this is real. This should have never been, man. But here we are. Here we are. And I think they ought to make his execution public. I hate to say that, but you know, that's the burning fire in me right now. People that like this, they ought to be made an example out of for the public to see, in my opinion. Yeah, show it to the public. Put some fear. Put fear in these people's hearts of what happens. You take somebody's life for no reason, for his opinions, for his beliefs. And if you disagreed, he said, "Come to the front of the line. Let's talk it out. Let's chop it out. Let's have a great conversation." this is the left. You know, you got to hear Nazi and fascist and dictator, threat to democracy. You're going to lose this. You're going to lose your health care. You're going to lose all your rights. You know, the same rhetoric, the same propaganda, the same misinformation, the same lies and fear mongering every single day. And it creates more scumbags like this every single day. Yeah, I think he should be made an example out of in front of everybody. In my opinion, y'all. And y'all know I hate to say stuff like that, but I think he should be made an example out of in front of everybody.
Yesterday on Capitol Hill, FBI Director Kash Patel said investigators are tracking down each and every person who the accused killer had been in touch with leading up to and after the shooting, including those that he spoke to online.
Number of individuals that are currently being investigated and interrogated, and a number yet to be investigated and interrogated specific to that chat room. So we are very much in our ongoing posture of investigation.
So others could have been involved?
Yes, sir.
At this point, no one else has been charged in this case, but prosecutors say that could change as this investigation continues. The suspect's next court date is September 29th. Todd?
All right, Garrett Tenney live for us in Spanish Fork. Garrett, thank you. Let's bring in constitutional law attorney and former federal prosecutor Katie Cherkasky. Katie, there was a lot in the press conference yesterday ahead of Robinson's first court appearance, in particular those text messages between Robinson and his romantic partner. What was your takeaway from what we learned yesterday?
Well, it looks like they have a very rock-solid case factually here. I mean, they even have the suspect making statements about the motive, about the planning, about the obstruction, attempting to tamper with witnesses, asking them not to cooperate with the police. So in terms of the elements that the prosecution has to prove, it's pretty obvious that they have evidence to support all of that. The big question is whether they can get the death penalty, and that's another calculation altogether.
And to that point, the defense is going to have to come up with unique, novel arguments. To that point, are you concerned that the defense is going to say, look, all the information disclosed by the prosecutors yesterday could have potentially tainted the jury pool in that area of Utah, necessitating a change of venue?
Well, the defense is always going to make any arguments that they possibly can to ensure that their client has a fair trial and a fair process. I do not think that this information is going to be enough to change the venue. There's always going to be people that are in a local area that may or may not be following something very closely. Some people don't even follow local news that closely. So that's a hypothetical that is possible, but I don't think it's a real significant concern, and there's still an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to ask you about that as well. I mean, you go back to the text messages, the Discord messages admitting to this assassination, the picture of the letter that he apparently wrote his romantic partner saying, I did it, I'm going to do it. What could the defense possibly be?
Well, the defense always boils down to either factual defenses or legal and procedural defenses. So, of course, the prosecution has to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. Right now, even though we have what we think is very rock-solid evidence, colloquially speaking, they still have to prove that in court. And so the prosecution has to make sure that everything is done properly, that there's no discovery violations, meaning that they turn over everything that they have that's required to the defense. There's a lot of different things that happen in criminal trials on the procedural side that need to be properly gone through.
Moving past Robinson for a second, based upon what you've seen so far, are you anticipating any charges against the lover, whom we have been told has been cooperating with authorities, or any of the people on Discord with whom Robinson allegedly communicated?
Well, it looks like the romantic partner seemed very genuinely shocked based on at least the snippet of the exchange that the DA read off yesterday. So I don't believe that there's any indication that they're involved. Of course, that's not off the table, and this is an ongoing investigation. So certainly, as of right now, no with that. With anybody else that might have been involved in any of the planning whatsoever or was aware of it, certainly the charges could be brought against them. So digital analysis does take some time to go through and ensure that they have all the evidence. They could certainly charge other people.
And the messages between them were very strange. I mean, if you look back and read through it, when he says, you know, I did it, the romantic partner's reaction was, I thought they caught the guy, not, are you insane? Are you kidding me? How could you? Not criminal, but just a very bizarre exchange between these two people.
I agree. It is certainly less shock than somebody might imagine. Of course, looking at text messages, some things can be taken out of context. Right. I think the justification is the circular ideology on its face, that because there's so much hate, I get to engage in violence. That is a justification that some people genuinely think is legally authorized, it seems, and perhaps the roommate has some of the same sentiment, but I don't know if there's any sort of connection to the actual crime based on those messages.
Quickly, before we let you go, going to a completely different case, a federal judge in New York throwing out terrorism charges against alleged United Healthcare CEO killer Luigi Mangione. Legally, was this the correct decision?
I always thought that was a reach on those charges. The terrorism statute in New York is modeled after the federal terrorism statute, and the New York appellate courts have been clear that the terrorism designator is what is generally known as terrorism. It doesn't apply to any sort of murder that is even maybe motivated by some ideological purpose. So I was always a bit concerned that was an overreach in the first place. And of course, he's facing the death penalty on the federal side. So this does reduce the New York case, but he still has significant exposure.
Yeah, and it should be pointed out that when this was announced by the judge, cheers erupted outside the court after the judge dropped these two charges, these terror charges against him. Not somebody who deserves those cheers, but they are certainly happening.
What a disgrace. I tell you, boy. Times that we are living in, man. Dark times, boy. Dark times, man. Love y'all. God bless you all and your family. And I will catch y'all in the next upcoming video on today's show.